Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy DaleyTactics here, and today I wanted to talk about Howzer, the clone trooper from The Bad Batch. Howzer is the final captain to be in control of the clone trooper garrison on Ryloth. Ryloth is an area of the Star Wars galaxy that has been under contention between separatists, between the Republic, between the Empire, between insurgents for many, many years here. So many clone trooper commanders and captains have partaken in the Battle of Ryloth, and Captain Howzer is the one to sort of close it out at the end of the Clone Wars and into the transition period of the Empire. And I really think he is sort of the last of the clone troopers, the traditional clone troopers that we see from the Clone Wars TV show. I think he is a very interesting study piece for us to look at, and that's why I'm doing this video. We're going to be taking an in-depth look at the symbolism of Howzer, I keep calling him Howitzer, Howzer, and what he really means to the clone troopers, to the end of the Republic, and to the new Empire here. So we first see Howzer sort of supporting the Empire here. He's going through the motions of the transition of insurgent fighting into peace on Ryloth. We see this in the Bad Batch double episode on Ryloth. Now, Howzer is sort of going along with the Imperial officer who is facilitating this transition of peace between the Senator of Ryloth, the Ryloth insurgents, and the Imperials there. It seems like Howzer is mainly in support of the Empire at this stage. There's no sense of treason with him, and he seems to be actually eager to get this peace treaty going. Now later on, as things begin to boil up again on Ryloth and the insurgent uprising is sort of reignited by the daughter of the Ryloth insurgent, as well as the death of the senator being blamed on the insurgents here, Howzer is put in an awkward position where he has been fighting for so long alongside these insurgents that he is loyal to them and loyal to helping the people. However, he has been programmed through his inhibitor chip as well as just through his training and his life to be loyal to the Republic, which is now the Empire. So he's caught at a crossroads between the insurgency that he has been fighting alongside and helping for so long, and the new Empire, which essentially wants complete control over the entire galaxy, doesn't want any problems, doesn't want to share power with anyone. They just want full-on control. So this is where Captain Howzer truly is the last of the true clone troopers. And there's a few things that sort of symbolize this. First of all, it's that crossroads that we're talking about here. His decisions at these crossroads represent how he is one of the truly last clone troopers. But also, the writers of the Clone Wars as well as the Bad Batch here have gone ahead and really done a great job of showing Captain Howzer being different from every other clone trooper and being more like the Clone Wars clone troopers than the Bad Batch clone troopers through his actions as well as his looks. And so we're going to be looking in at that symbolism right now and then be talking about his actual decisions that are suggested before he actually makes them through this symbolism. So first of all, the very first thing you notice about Howzer is his armor. It is very faded armor, and it is colored, which up until this point in the Bad Batch, we have seen almost no colored clone trooper armor. We've seen Crosshair's armor and his squad, which aren't clone troopers, those are stormtroopers, and they have dark black armor. We've obviously seen the Bad Batch's armor, but that was, from the Clone Wars, that it was colored like that. And all of the standard clones are truly just plain white. That's all they are, They're becoming as drowned out as possible in terms of individuality to truly make them into a bland, lame army that only follows order. Taking out individuality is a major part of a military because it basically makes them every other soldier and makes it so they're more likely to follow orders and be able to be spoken down to, as opposed to being a unique, self-actualized human being. So it's very bizarre to be seeing Captain Howzer here, who actually still has clone trooper colored armor. Now, it's very, very faded. And I think, first of all, the first ounce of symbolism that we're seeing here is that he has colored clone trooper armor still. It shows that he is still managing to retain his individuality amongst a sea of plain white clone troopers. It represents that he still has his own thoughts. He can think for himself, and he's not just going to go with the flow of everyone else. However, this colored armor is extraordinarily faded. More faded of armor than even Captain Rex's or Commander Cody's, whose both armor by the end of the Clone Wars was beginning to get drowned out from all of the battle scars and things like that. Howzer's armor has blatant fading throughout the entirety of the color, meaning his individuality, despite still existing amongst the Imperial reign, is fading, and he is slowly becoming just another Imperial pawn. And this can be seen through his agreeance of basically everything an Imperial officer tells him to do. His compliance with orders are still very much so there, and he is agreeing to essentially wipe out the color from his armor. He is agreeing to wipe out the memory of the Clone Wars and the Republic from his mind and become another stormtrooper. He's not fully there yet, hence the color still showing ever so slightly, yet it is fading away. But despite him going along with the Empire now, he does still retain that color like we were talking about. He still treats Ryloth well. He still treats the population of Ryloth well. He says things like, "She's just a child," to the Imperial officers who want to hurt the children of Ryloth. In addition to that, whenever he gets an order that we as normal people would perceive as morally wrong, he hesitates before doing that. You can see it in his eyes that he doesn't want to follow this order. He's not a robot like the rest of the Imperial stormtroopers now, who were formerly clone troopers, who are just going along with whatever Imperial officers say. He thinks about these orders before committing to them. Now, these facial expressions that we're seeing are also important because they're there. If you've noticed in the Bad Batch, the only people who ever take off their helmets are the Bad Batch members. That's it. The rest of the clone troopers in the show are always there with their helmets on. On the rare instances we see them without their helmets when they're eating in the mess hall, they all have the exact same hair color and the exact same hair style. Unlike in the Clone Wars, when we would see clone troopers with different colored hair, different colored hairstyles, different tattoos on their face, things like that. Now they are simply all the exact same uniform, and they always keep their helmets on unless they literally cannot. Howzer, on the other hand, takes off his helmet every chance he gets. The only time he puts it on is when he is in combat. This shows that he sees himself as a person instead of just another drone who needs to wear a helmet to fit in with everyone else. He also has his own haircut, which is completely different from the rest of the clone troopers' haircut, showing once again his individuality. Additionally, he doesn't talk like the rest of the clone troopers. When you hear Howzer talk, it's reminiscent of Captain Rex or Commander Cody in the Clone Wars. He talks with personality, his own personality. The rest of the clone troopers we hear now only talk when barking orders or basically complaining about their current state or situation as a little joke in the Bad Batch. They don't really have personality. They just say what they're expected to say. However, Howzer still talks like he's his own person. He talks like the last of the clone troopers, essentially. He is the last of the clone troopers. He's reminiscent of the Clone Wars clones as opposed to the Bad Batch clones, which are all just drones at this point. And so all of this symbolism that we're seeing put in by the writers through his appearance and his demeanor actually end up paying off in the end through his actual actions. He seems to understand what the people of Ryloth want, and he wants the same things. He understands the hearts and minds of the people of Ryloth. He says that rounding up peaceful protesters will lose them the little support they have on Ryloth. He says this to the Imperial officer who blatantly ends up ignoring him. Ryloth often has been compared to Vietnam in the fact that it's a losing war on that planet because of the fact that they're never able to win the hearts and minds of the people there. the Separatists in the Clone Wars or the Imperials in the Bad Batch. It's extremely difficult to get a hold of Ryloth and actually control Ryloth, similar to how it was very difficult for the United States to ever manage to get hold of Vietnam. They never managed to because they never won the hearts and minds of the Vietnamese people. And Howzer understands this about the people of Ryloth too. Therefore, the symbolism that we originally end up seeing through his appearance and demeanor translates over to how his mind works and his reactions to things. And then we actually get to see him enforce this in action. He is visibly hurt when he loses freedom fighters' trust. When one of the freedom fighter leaders tells him that they thought they could trust him, he is crushed by this. You could see it in his facial expressions, and from that point on, he ends up helping the Bad Batch. He warns them of a trap that Crosshair has set up for them. He says the Empire is wrong, and then he does the ultimate sacrifice by letting the Bad Batch get away and distracting the Imperials on the opposite end of the door. He tries to save the rest of his squad from doing wrong in that moment as well. This is very reminiscent of the clone troopers from the Clone Wars. This would be something that Captain Rex or Commander Cody would have done, trying to convince their brothers of something that is morally right. It's a speech that we've heard before from Captain Rex on Umbara. He does this towards the troopers that are a part of his squad because he loves them as his brothers, and he tries to convince them to help Ryloth instead of to imprison Ryloth. This is straight out of Clone Wars clone troopers, not something we've ever seen in the Bad Batch before. And all of this is predetermined by the symbolism that the writers have set up through his armor, through his hair, through his demeanor. This symbolism is really some of the strongest I've seen out of Star Wars in a long time. Howzer is really a well set up character from his appearance all the way to his actions and through his character arc in this small 2-episode arc. And we even get a glimpse of his past history in the Clone Wars through the actions of the men he leads. Some of them put down their weapons in order to help the Bad Batch escape and in order to basically quit the Empire. These are troopers with inhibitor chips in their heads that literally force them to follow orders. It shows that Howzer's training of them and leadership of them might be greater than the inhibitor chip within them. This is an allusion into what Howzer was doing during the Clone Wars with his troopers. He was fighting for the hearts and minds of the people. He was doing what he represented. So through Howzer's actions and his appearance and looks, I have to say that Howzer is the last of the clone troopers. He is the final clone trooper that we see out of the Clone Wars. The last true clone trooper to retain his personality, to retain his individualism. And it's so well written and so symbolized in the Bad Batch, so well, that I just have to give props to the writers. This was just so well done, and I really, really loved it. Either way, guys, I think that's going to be about it for today's video. After watching The Bad Batch, I really wanted to talk about Howzer, like I really, really did. I think he's an awesome character, and I just wanted to rant about him for a little bit. In addition to that, I still don't have my computer, so I still got to make these types of videos. So hopefully we'll have some more gameplay videos to come, but I hope you guys enjoy these little videos until I get my computer back and can actually do some gameplay videos for you guys. But this will have to do for a little while, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I know I really enjoyed making this because it was really fun to ramble about Howzer. Either way, guys, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, comment down below. I'll see y'all later. Peace.